Hey, this is Mr. Masonette, and what we're going to do in this tutorial is we're going to practice solving a word problem involving proportion using multiple strategies. So this problem reads that Ava and Jacqueline painted 240 square feet of their living room wall with 3/4 gallon of paint. How many square feet can they paint with 4 gallons of paint? All right, the first thing that I like to do is state the given rate. And the given rate is 240 square feet of wall would be covered using 3/4 of a gallon of paint. All right, and we want to use this rate to figure out how many square feet of wall would be covered using 4 gallons of that same paint. All right, so we know that these two rates here are going to be equivalent rates. And there's so many different ways that we can solve. So one strategy is to take the given rate and convert it into a unit rate. Now, a unit rate is how much of a quantity would it be for 1 unit. So how many square feet of wall can be covered using 1 gallon of paint? And to convert any rate into a unit rate, we just take this numerator here and divide it by its denominator. All right, so let us take 240 square feet and divide that by 0.75 gallons, which is the decimal equivalent of 3/4. And that would give us 320 square feet. So we know that the unit rate would be 320 square feet of wall would be covered using 1 gallon of paint. Now what we can do is set that equal to 4 gallons. And we can see that this denominator here gets 4 times bigger, which means this numerator would get 4 times bigger. And 320 times 4 is 1,280 square feet. Now, another way that we could have solved this problem is we could have started off once again by just taking our y value, which is our numerator, and divide it by our x value, which is our denominator, to come up with 320 square feet, which is our unit rate. However, this number is also something called the constant of proportionality. We can use this number to say that this top number right here is 320 times bigger than the denominator. If we multiply this constant of proportionality by our x value here at the bottom, that would end up giving us 240. And because these are equivalent rates, we can do the same thing over on this side. We can take 4 and multiply it by 320, which also gives us 1,280 square feet. All right, now here is another way that we could have done the same problem. So let us go ahead and rewrite our proportion, 240 square feet. This time I'm not going to put my labels down because I have them written over here and we already know what they are, equals blank over 4. So what we can do now is figure out how many times bigger is this denominator than this denominator, or how many times bigger did it get? Now, whenever figuring out how many times larger something is, we go in reverse and we just divide. So if we take 4 and divide it by 3/4, that would give us our factor increase. So let us go ahead and take 4 and quickly divide that by 3/4, which is going to be keep, change, and flip. And that would give us 16/3. So we would say that this bottom number here got 16/3 times larger. So what we would do is take this numerator and multiply it by 16/3. So let us go ahead and do that. So we have 240 over 1 multiplied by 16/3. All right, 240 and 3 can be canceled because they share a greatest common factor of 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 240 divided by 3 is 80. So what we have left is 80 times 16. So let us go ahead and do some quick math here. 16 times 80. We bring our 0 straight down and do 8 times 6, which is 48. Carry the 4. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12. So once again, we end up getting 1,280 square feet. All right, there's yet another way we can do this problem. All right, so let us go ahead and rewrite our proportion yet again. 240 square feet to 3/4 gallon of paint is equal to blank square feet over 4 gallons. Now, one thing that we should understand about equivalent rates or equivalent fractions is that when you cross multiply in either direction, you're going to end up getting the same product. So whatever number we have here multiplied by 3/4 is going to be equal to 4 times 240. So here's what we're going to do. In this blank space here, I'm just going to write an x. We're using a variable to represent the value that we are looking for. And we know that this number here, 3/4, multiplied by x, is going to be equal to 240 multiplied by 4. Remember, with any proportion, when you cross multiply, you're going to end up getting equivalent products. So this times this is equal to this times this. All right, now to get this x by itself, so we can say that x is equal to something, what we can do is do the inverse of what this number is doing with the x. Because they are being multiplied, we would do the opposite, which is to divide. Now, whenever dividing a fraction by itself, it is the same thing as multiplying it by its own reciprocal. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is because everything ends up canceling out, turning into the number 1, leaving us with 1x on this side. Now, whatever you do on one side, you do on the other side. So I'm going to take everything on this side and multiply it by 4/3. And then I'm going to end up just turning these into fractions. All right. What I'm going to do is take this 240 and 3 and cancel those out. Remember, we always look for one number on the bottom and one number at the top that share a common factor. And the greatest common factor of 240 and 3 is 3. So 3 goes into itself once, and 3 goes into here 80 times. Now, that leaves us with 80 times 4 times 4. So I'm going to start by doing 4 times 4, which is 16, and then multiplying 16 by 80. And if we take 16 times 80, we once again end up getting 1,280 square feet.
Hey, I just want to say thanks for checking out this math tutorial. Please don't forget to hit that subscription button and enable notifications so you can be informed as I upload new math tutorials to my math channel. Until next time, this is Shane Masonette with Masonette Math.